that were also adopted by Democrats who were centrist, that recognize while you don't have to tilt all the way right, you certainly are not interested in tilting all the way left either. Moderate, being somebody that has an alternative point of view, that recognizes the fact that both extremes don't work for us, that would basically be a Stephen A. Smith administration, because that's how I live my life. I run across racists. I run across people from my own community that can be bigoted in their own way. I don't think either is right. Piers Morgan and I don't have to agree. But if he respects me and I respect him, why can't we have an intelligent conversation, challenging one another on ideas, knowing that we're open-minded enough to say, you know what? He might have a point on this issue. I think I won on that issue, but I think he's got me on that issue, and govern that way. Because when you do so, the American people and the world itself is going to be significantly more comfortable, because they recognize that you're working together. So because of that, you're exploring all ideas, which means everything was considered before decisions were made. And that's when you have peace in the streets. When you focus on those things with that mentality, as opposed to being dogged in your ideological tilt, where you're not willing to negotiate and discuss and compromise with anybody.
You know, I can't vote for you, even if I wanted to, but that kind of speech would have me racing down to a polling booth. That's why I think we are going to see you run at some stage, because you've got the passion. And you come at this exactly the right place, which is the extremities on the right and the left. They're unelectable extremities. What most Americans are like is actually they're more centrist. That's the reality. It's the same in the UK. It's the same in most countries, actually.
I'll answer the question by this way. I'll give you a headline. The contract that I have right now, the things that I'm doing, if there was a way for me to still do that and earn my money while running for president, that would be a different. then you'd have my curiosity.
Well, I have a better idea. I have a better idea.
But I'm not giving up my quality of life to run for election.
You've made enough money. I have a better idea. What would happen is to guarantee that you could do this without worrying about your current employment scenario, I would, with the ultimate sacrifice, step in and replace you in your current job on your current salary and allow you the freedom to go and run the country. What about that?
Yeah.
Studies show that strength training burns more fat than cardio alone and is critical for maintaining muscle mass and bone density as we age. Jacked Up Fitness has the perfect tool. The Jacked Up Power Rack Pro is the ultimate all-in-one home gym system for a full body workout, and you can do it in your spare room or garage. I'm delighted to say I now have one myself. So if you're new to strength training, there is a whole library of full body video workouts. You just press play and you follow along. With top quality equipment and first class content, Jacked Up Fitness makes your fitness goals accessible and convenient. We've teamed up to give you 10% off the Power Rack Pro. Visit getjackedup.com to sign up for the free program and use promo code PIERS, P-I-E-R-S, for your discount. That's getjackedup.com.
I mean, like I said before, my quality of life is very, very important to me. I'm not surrendering it, Pierce. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it just to run for elected office, you know, and having to deal with hundreds of elected officials who have their own individual agendas, who may be devoid of the passion, devoid of the conscience, devoid of the commitment to making America as whole as we can possibly be. I'd have to know that I'm good to give up all of that to deal with that kind of stress in my life. I just can't see it. But again, I promised my pastor, I promised the elected officials who approached me, I promised a lot of folks that rolled up on me in the streets and still do more so each and every day. I promised them that I would leave the door open. That's what I do, but I'm incredibly happy with my life. I'm incredibly happy with my career, where it's going. I got stuff that I can't even announce yet that's coming down the pike on top of what I'm doing for ESPN, where I intend to make some significant noise. I'm not fading away from this political stratosphere at all. I just seriously doubt it will be as an elected official.
That is the Most long-winded way of not saying no I've ever heard, Stephen A. Smith. Thank you. Thank you for coming on Uncensored. I love interviewing you. I'd love to do a longer interview. I think you're a fascinating guy. You are exactly what this debate needs. Whether you end up running or not, you are what the Democrat Party in particular needs to hear. And I think that we're going to debate now with a panel exactly what you've been saying. But I think we have not heard the end of this, and your door may creak more and more open as the next few years go by. But it's great talking to you.
Might have to. It might have to, because I'm not going to stop calling it like I see it on either side.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's Democrats or Republicans. If I got a problem with what they're doing, I'm going to let them know about it. And I'm not going to be caught.
Except for he's just going to get the Republicans a light jab. But, bro, when it comes to the Democrats, bro, he's going to go prime Mike Tyson on the Democrats, bro.
Up in the fact that I'm a black man, so automatically I'm supposed to be tilting towards the Democratic side. I'm done with all of that. I'm tired of that. Let's make sure we debate. Let's stop focusing on supporting individuals, and let's look at policies that actually work and don't work for the United States of America. That's what I would like us to focus on as a nation and as a world, and I hope that we all lean towards doing just that.
I love it. Stephen, great to talk to you. Thank you very much.
You too, Piers. Take care.
So what should the Democrats do other than try and persuade that guy to run? Well, to debate this, I'm joined by journalist and political commentator Geraldo Rivera,
The fucking glaze.
former independent candidate for president Cornel West, Democratic TikTok commentator Harry Sisson, and back for more, founder of the Young Turks and former presidential candidate Cenk Uygur. So welcome to all of you. Geraldo, you know, every time I listen to Stephen A. Smith talk, I'm more impressed by him. And although people say, well, he's got no experience. Well, Trump had no experience. He's won the White House twice. We live in very different times now as to what constitutes the right kind of experience to run the United States. Is there any reason why somebody like Stephen A. Smith could not actually end up running for president and potentially winning?
No is the quick answer to that, Piers. He is such an impressive and eloquent person, and he has the tireless qualities I think you need to run. He's robust, he's macho, he's confident. He's everything the Democrats have not been. My only advice to him as a friend and as a lawyer would be careful not to mess with that $100 million ESPN contract. I think he can do it. Anything short of a formal announcement should be clear. And if I were him, I would tease right up to the final moment, years from now, a couple of years from now. And then if the feeling still is as positive, the buzz is as optimistic as it is right now, you can announce he could do it. He could do it. So could Josh Shapiro. You mentioned the governor of California. I think Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, more controversial, but I think he's got it. He's got that quality also, that charisma, that confidence, that ability to shake off what used to be the Democratic Party, the manacles of wokeness. And political correctness. They have obviously not worked. Let's cast them aside. Let's go for pragmatic idealism. I think that's what Stephen A. Smith embodies, and I think that's why his teasing this candidacy, as unlikely as it may appear now,
like
3.5 years out, is so enticing. We have to shake off. The Democrats have to shake off. They have to do what the Republicans do. They have to find Trump. They have to find Trump too. They have to find someone who.
If we were to find Trump too, that definitely wouldn't be Stephen A. Smith. I think Stephen A. Smith bends the knee a little bit too easily. Not too long ago, it was actually yesterday, I think I said something about the fact that he wants people to be well-mannered. The only way that you can, that we can work with Donald Trump is to be well-mannered individuals. That's what came out of Stephen A. Smith's mouth. So, I don't know. We have to appease him. That's what came out of Stephen A. Smith's mouth. If he didn't say that, then maybe I might be like, okay, yeah, Stephen A. Smith running for potential office, I can see that. But I'm tired of having people who are going to eventually be cucks to Donald Trump. All they need to do is be invited to the White House one time, and all of a sudden, you're the biggest Trump guzzler that there is, and I really don't want that for Stephen A. Smith. So it wouldn't be him if we were to get our own Trump. Shit, it might be David Hogg. Why not?
Who has that ability to project not only will I take care of you in terms of your security, but I will give this economy a boost. I will raise this, this rising tide, lifting all boats. I think they've got to change absolutely what they have done. Obviously, it's been disastrous up till now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, Harry, you've backed pretty much every Democrat loser imaginable. Do you not, when you listen to, well, you can look bemused, but you put yourself wholeheartedly behind Joe Biden?
I like Josh Shapiro and Gavin Newsom. They're all pretty.
No, I'm talking about the people
right
you
now.
publicly backed who then got completely shellacked, like Biden, Kamala Harris, and so
I
on.
publicly back Shapiro.
Okay, but do you not though? When I listen to Stephen A. Smith, because I don't think the old "you've got to be politically experienced" stuff matters anymore. Trump's just destroyed that narrative. You don't have to. You just have to be charismatic, a good communicator, and have a good message that resonates with people. You can then get people around you that can do the political hard yards if you want to. What I liked about what he said and the passion and eloquence.
You don't need to know anything about policy. You don't actually need to know what you're signing. You just need to just be able to communicate. Say a couple funny jokes, make everybody laugh.
He delivered it with was he completely gets the problem the Democrats have found themselves in. They've been hijacked by the woke left. And you're seeing people, even like Gavin Newsom, racing back to the center ground because they realize that the woke progressive left arm of the party has got to be let go.
Piers, I actually agree with everything you just said, and somewhat disagree on the experience. I think that when it comes to running a campaign publicly, I don't think the American people value the being a senator for X amount of years, being a House member for X amount of years as much as they did prior to Trump's years. But I think that when it comes to doing the job, the experience does still matter if you want to be a good president. But look, if your goal with your interview with Stephen A. Smith was to make him sound like a viable candidate, I think you were very successful, Piers.
Yeah.
I think you're right that he sounds authentic. I think you're right that he sounds pragmatic. I think that you're right that he actually diagnoses the problems in the Democratic Party, which is, I think, as you mentioned, Gavin Newsom has correctly pointed out, we're so quick to attack people who don't 100% align with us. We're quick to attack people who are not as progressive as we want them to be, and we push them to the Republican Party into the arms of Donald Trump. So, no, I think that in modern America, 2024, 2025, and the 2028 election, I think Stephen A. Smith could absolutely be a viable candidate. Will he win? We'll see if he runs first.
Would you say, Harry, you've been de-woked?
Have I been? It's a good question, Piers. I don't think I've been like de-woked.
You've had a complete personality transplant. You've just it sounds like wokeism has been sucked out of you.
No, Piers, I think that people like
This
yourself
fucking
and
video
Gavin
keeps
Newsom
lagging
and
on
Bill
me.
Maher and other people in the Democratic Party are right. Like, we lost badly. We lost the House, we lost the Senate, we lost the presidency, and things won't change unless we change. So, people have made their voices clear that they don't like the wokeism, they don't like the cancel culture, they don't like the progressive left policies. And if we, the Democratic Party, continue to say, actually,
Wow.
we're going to force it down your throats, you're going to like them no matter what, we will continue to lose, and Donald Trump will continue to thrive, and J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio in 4 years from now will be the next president of the United States.
Cornell, do you agree with this? Look, I've written a whole book about the woke rampage. I wrote it 3 years ago. I called it Wake Up. It was
What the fuck is woke? Like, is anybody on this panel going to... every time there's a Republican that complains, or even a Democrat or progressive or centrist that wants to explain, that talks about, man, it's the woke. What the fuck does that mean? Like, what is woke? What does that mean to the individuals on this fucking panel? I never hear that question asked. Because I feel like if they were to define what woke is, each one would have a different definition of what woke is. I'm 100% sure that human rights, such as trans people being able to exist freely in the world, Piers Morgan, that would be woke for us to think like that, for us to believe that everything is, for black people to believe that white people are inherently racist, which is fucking true. It's a given fucking fact. That would be woke. To tell the truth, hey, teaching CRT, that's too woke. DEI, way too woke. Like, what is it? What are they saying? There's so many nuances to what is woke. Questions never fucking answered. Never answered. Nobody knows what it is.
clarion call to my fellow liberals to wake up before it was too late. People clearly didn't read it properly because they carried on down that progressive, hard left, woke agenda, and Trump exploited that very skillfully with the Republican Party, and he got re-elected. I think it was one of the main reasons he did. But do you think the party should abandon all of the wokist stuff, or do you think it should just be realigned?
Let me first say a word about Brother Steve Anthony Smith, though. He's a highly talented brother. I love and respect his pastor. He's been there in East New York now for almost 40 years. He was a member of the Black Panther Party early in his life. And then he himself moved very much to the center, but he loves his people. I'm talking about Brother Bernard. I've been at his church on many occasions. But for me, you see, Brother Pierre, that I disagree with the framework that you bring. You see, I don't think it's a bad thing to be woke about poverty. It's not a bad thing to be woke about genocide in Gaza. It's not a bad thing to be woke about the organized greed of the 1%. Those are issues of moral and spiritual substance. So it's not just about popularity. There's got to be some integrity here. It's not just about political expediency.
Very true.
The vast majority of Germans were for Hitler. So what? They were still wrong. They were still immoral. Where does truth come in? Where does truth and integrity come in here? This is not just a matter of what kind of Machiavellian politics you can come up with.
Well, okay, but let me challenge you.
If you understand, if you understand by woke, dogmatism of the left, then I'm against dogmatism of any sort. But if you understand woke, people who are concerned about poor people and working people and colonized people and hated people, despised people, if you're going to hate on trans and hate on gay people and downplay what's happening in Gaza with precious Palestinians, then sleepwalking is not a good thing, brother.
Okay, let me challenge you.
W.
Tax day has passed, but for millions
I don't need
of Americans.
Mute this. Fuck you, W, bro. That's what I'm talking about. Finally, somebody fucking said it. Like, literally. What is wrong? Again, because they can't define what being woke is. What is wrong with being woke? It's like being called simp by misogynist red pill men. Being called a simp in 2025 means you respect women. Like, I respect women and I won't degrade women. I have issues with people who do degrade women, specifically black women. I'm a simp for that. Fine, whatever. I'll be a simp if that's what it means. Normally, I thought what simp means is me just crushing over a girl. Like, heads over heels, like for no reason, not getting the same shit reciprocated, but whatever. That's what I thought it was. But now, if you respect women, you're a simp. Fine, okay, I'll be a simp. That's crazy. But like finally somebody said it. It's like if your definition of woke is the fight against racism, is to make that a talking point to defend the trans community, to speak on that, then yeah, fuck. I'd rather be fucking woke. Like Cornel West said, it's better than sleepwalking. I'm gonna start using that. I'm taking that. You want to be anti-woke? I'm just gonna say you're sleepwalking, and sleepwalking is 10 times more dangerous than being woke. No, yeah, 10 times more dangerous than being woke. So like, I actually liked how Cornel West framed that. Yeah, appreciated that. Actually, is really good.
Cornel, let me challenge you. I made the point at the start of my last book, and I've just done a new book which is going to come out in October.
I'm sorry, I haven't read it though, but I need to get to it.
I've got a new book called Woke is Dead coming out, just so you know, just to prepare you. But what I would say to that is, when woke was originally devised back in the 60s, from the music world actually, mainly from the black music world in the 60s, it was supposed to be encouraging people to have more awareness of social and racial injustice. And by that criteria, I would happily say I want to be woke. What happened in the last few years is that it became an extraordinarily virulent new form, ironically, I felt, of the very thing that woke people would say they hate most, of fascism, where it became something where people on the progressive left felt they had the right to tell Americans, and around the world, but Americans, how to think, what heroes they can have, what movies they can enjoy, what humor they can laugh at, what clothes they can wear, etc., etc., etc. And it became a form of fascism. And this cancel culture mentality became utterly brutal and unforgiving and completely, in my view, un-American. And I would ask you, you mentioned there that people hate trans. I don't think it's ever been about people hating trans.
Well, no.
I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you
Yes.
think it was fair that biological males were allowed to compete in women's sport?
No, I was never for that.
Right.
Not at all.
So,
I've been an athlete
so
myself.
that was
I
a key
never for
tenet
it.
of
But that doesn't mean-
of the
but that
modern day
doesn't mean-
woke.
But one can still have a deep love of trans.
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
Make sure there's fair competition.
That's fine.
That's all.
No, that's fine.
But I heard a lot of demonizing. But look at the demonizing of Palestinians, brother. One of the reasons why we can't talk about genocide is anti-Palestinian racism is so thick that all those deaths and all those babies don't mean nothing to people. They don't count. That ain't nothing but racism, brother. Let's just be honest about it.
I have no problem. I have no problem, Cornell. People talking up for the Palestinian people in the way that you just have. I would quibble with the word genocide, and I have done. I don't think it's a genocide. What's happened? However, I do. Hang on, Cornell. I do think way too many innocent people, women and children in Gaza have died, and this has to stop. Right, so I completely concede that point.
And that is 10 times more important than like the 0.5% of trans women who are in women's sports, in which you cannot tell me, find me one trans woman that's dominating in their sport, in a woman's sport right now. If you can't give me that, then you're full of shit, and it's not that big of an issue than people are trying to make this out to be. This is just fucking transphobic rhetoric, transphobic propaganda. Just say it. I'm tired of people just like running around it. Stop beating around the bush. Tell me who you are. Just say you're transphobic. That's it. Just say it. Stop coming up with fucking ways.
But I would also say that when I have guests on who refuse to condemn Hamas, refuse to condemn October the 7th, and that happens a lot, that shows me that there is another mindset there, which is, that fine, only Palestinian lives matter, and that all the lives that were taken on the other side don't matter.
That's wrong too. Murder is murder, and human life is human life. But for the most part, anti-Palestinian racism cuts so much deeper than staying in contact with the lives of Israelis. That is a fact in America. In America, Israeli life has more value than Palestinian life. Do you agree with that?
I don't agree with that, actually, and I think the reality is, I remember I can tell you that in West London, where I live, most of the time, the day after October the 7th, there were mass numbers of people in the streets in my high street, and because the Israeli embassy was there, and I assumed they were turning out to support the Jewish people after this horrific massacre. It turned out they were supporting Hamas. And I thought that was an unbelievably despicable thing.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in America. All the encampments I was blessed to be a part of, nobody got up and gave speeches talking about how wonderful Hamas were. Not one. And all the speeches that I gave had nothing to do with pro-Hamas. It had to do with the vicious occupation of 78 years of subjugation and the killing of innocent folk. The killing of innocent Jewish brothers and sisters. Their life is precious, just like any other human life, and many of us made that point.
Yeah, and I would like, I want to move it back to the Democrat Party's future, but just on that, I think that Palestinian and Israeli lives, they should have the same human rights. Bottom line.
They should.
Cheng, let me bring you in here.
They should.
It's a really interesting debate for the soul of the Democrat Party. You've been immersed in this for quite a while now, and I think you've seen the way the wind was blowing way before a lot of people. But when you see someone like Stephen A. Smith, what do you think? I mean, I just think he's clearly flirting with this. He's getting more popular. I think people really like him. But he's articulate. He's intelligent. He's strong. I see him standing up to LeBron James and stuff when they have spats and whatever. He's clearly got a fearless streak in him. Why not Stephen A. Smith?
fucking glazed.
So I want to have a clarifying conversation here, and I want to offer you a better celebrity than Stephen A. Smith. Look, I got no problems with the brother, and I'm not trying to hate, okay? But, I mean, saying the first thing he'd do is economics. What does that mean? What's the policy behind economics? He said he checked with his pastor. I think it's more likely that he checked with his publicist. But it's okay. It's okay. God bless, to each his own, okay? So I'll get to the celebrity in a second. But, guys, there's 3 wings of the Democratic Party. It's driving me crazy that you all are talking about it in a way that makes no sense, and you lump in people that don't belong together. I get why, but the 3 wings are what you guys keep talking about, radical left, woke left, whatever you want to call it, right? But then you've got the establishment, and that's the part that you guys never talk about. So that's the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. They're not woke. That's not their problem. Their problem is that they were elitist, served the donor class, or establishment figures. Hillary Clinton, same exact thing. Hillary wasn't woke at all. She was just establishment 101. Those are 2 different problems. Then there's a 3rd wing that I'm in, which is economic populism, that Ro Khanna's in, Nina Turner's in. So Nina Turner brings in basically the black wing of the populist movement and talking about the freedom budget that the civil rights movement talked about. Why? It's an economic issue. It's about populism. It's about raising wages. So what do we focus on? How can the Democratic Party win? That's the most important thing. So higher wages, lower drug prices, lower housing prices, paid family leave, anti-war, money out of politics. These are all Democratic policies that are all intensely popular, over 2/3 for each one of those things. So, you know, we talk about, oh, Stephen A. Smith gets a lot of airtime. He does, but why? You know, you guys mentioned Wes Moore. Wes Moore's an incredibly charismatic guy. I'm not sure that's the candidate that I want, but I'd be open to it. But he just doesn't get enough airtime, right? Same thing for Ro Khanna, wonderfully articulate. Geraldo's complimented him in the past. And he's a really smart guy. But not just that. Then we've got some real populists like Richard Ojeda running in North Carolina 9. And he served 24 years in the Army, ain't nothing to do with woke. It's about delivering for the average American. But Piers, if we want to be obsessed with celebrities, why not Jon Stewart? Jon Stewart's the only celebrity who's actually gotten a bill passed when he wasn't even in Congress. It was spectacular. It was amazing. If I could take Stephen A. Smith's hype and his chutzpah and the way that he gets out there and runs to the spotlight and put it on Jon Stewart, we'd have a winning combination.
But you know what I would say to that? And it's interesting. I love Jon Stewart. But I think if you walked around with Jon Stewart and Stephen A. Smith in LA or New York, you're right. Okay? The smart crowd would all rush up to Jon Stewart. You're the Messiah. If you took them both down to Florida, to Texas, to Alabama, right, to Middle America, if you took the pair of them down there, it would be the other way round. You would see the people on the streets resonating far more with Stephen A. Smith than they ever would with Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart, in a way, is a kind of elitist himself. I mean, he's brilliant, but he's part of the elite comedic establishment. He is. Come on, he's a multimillionaire comedian.
But then why isn't Stephen A. Smith elitist?
So Stephen A. Smith.
No, you can't have
because I think the sport, in a way,
I tell you why. Because in a way, but Stephen A. Smith isn't elite, even though he's a celebrity. That doesn't make any sense.
Because he commentates on a sport which is about as far from elitist in terms of where most of the players come from that you could imagine. Right, because they're mostly working class Americans.
There isn't one thing Jon Stewart has done that's elitist. There isn't one thing.
No, I think by definition, if you're part of
wonderful people,
I would say if you're part of the New York elite comedic TV set, you are by definition part of the media establishment. Let's put it like that.
How is Stephen A. Smith not part of the TV set? I mean, the man is glued to the TV. And why are we having a conversation between Stephen A. Smith and Jon Stewart?
Because I think they're very different.
You know what?
Let me ask the biggest TV. Let me ask the biggest TV star. Let me ask the biggest TV star of the four of us, of 5 of us. And that is, sorry, Cornell, it's not you.
David Chappelle to run.
David Chappelle would be fucking crazy.
I'm going to ask Geraldo, who is by far the biggest TV star of the 5 of us. Geraldo, Jon Stewart v. Stephen A. Smith.
Not laughing in Geraldo's face, bro.
I like Jon Stewart a lot. I think he is brilliant in his comedy, his sarcasm, and I think that's his greatest strength. Is his strong suit, but I don't think sarcasm sells the way populism does. Stephen A. Smith has indicated and gives off the vibe. Sometimes it's indescribable
He's from the Bronx.
A mystery where it comes from.
He's from the Bronx.
It's a charisma that Trump has. Trump is an amazing. Trump is the biggest movie star on earth right now.
Yeah.
He's charismatic. He's magnetic. He's someone who I think that he's survived these 100 days, sometimes catastrophes of his own making, but he has emerged. He had the great meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister today. I think that I want to add quickly, parenthetically, I also don't want you to exclude Sean Hannity. I think it would be a wonderful candidate for president. And either of the Cuomo brothers, Andrew, the
Sean
former
Hannity?
governor who's now running and is the probable next mayor of New York,
Dude,
and also
these
Chris
guys wanna go
Cuomo,
backwards.
who I submit was the first to recognize in Stephen A. Smith this possibility. However unrealistic it may be, that Stephen A. Smith
I'm just tired of the cucks, bro. He keeps naming cucks.
might be a viable candidate. But I think the main point that we are all talking about and avoiding is that the Democrats have to shake off what they have done up until now. They have failed utterly. They failed when they did not bounce Joe Biden from the candidacy long before, where it was recognized he was borderline dementia. And I love the guy. And
to talk about that point for the 1000th time, Joe Biden did. People did notice it. People did confront him about it. People did talk about it. Literally said, if I'm quoting Joe Biden correctly, say, hey guys, if you don't think I can do this shit, see me at the primary, see me at the convention, challenge me at the convention. That's what he said. And now the damn person decided to step up and challenge him at the convention. Nobody did. So I don't blame Joe Biden for continuously running, for continuing the process. Personally, I'd rather he just go ahead, go through the process, and let's see what the American people think. If they want Joe Biden, if they want Donald Trump, just let it go. A lot of people probably didn't step up because they knew it would be political suicide. It's too late, and it was too late in the game. It's too late. It'll be so much money, so much time consuming to actually, from that point, to start a campaign for presidency in like 2 to 3 months. I'm tired of people saying that. People knew. Can't put a gun to somebody's head.
He's only 8 months older than I am. I feel, regret that he did not have the grace and the pragmatism to withdraw much earlier. And so the Democrats could have had a primary. I don't think Kamala Harris would have won that primary, even if it was a quick one on a short schedule, if you remember how she bombed the last time she tried. And I think that she's also going to be an awful candidate for governor of California, and the Republicans will have an opportunity there because they see that, for one thing that has not been mentioned, immigration. The Democrats have been so wishy-washy on immigration. They all they do is recite the mantra and the Statue of Liberty and don't recognize how offensive immigration is. The border has to be sealed, and then you need compassion, you need attention, but immigration is an issue that is that's the elephant in the room. Has not been mentioned, but I wonder what Stephen A. Smith would say about immigration.
First of all, I'll give the current administration some sort of credit for keeping the border sealed, right? The encounters are low. I question the deportation process, right? I don't like the way the deportation process is going because there's no due process in it. I think that's everybody's problem. Nobody really cares that you're removing people who are here illegally, right? But you're supposed to be focusing on the criminals, and you're calling everybody that you deport a criminal without due process, and you're trying to convince people who actually give a damn about people's humanity that they're criminals. We don't know this. You don't prove it. You can't prove anything. You're already wrong. You said you were wrong once, and you refused to rectify your fucking mistake. So, come on. Let's be honest. And, let's also give the previous administration credit. In September of last year, fucking immigration was already starting to go down. It was going to be inevitable that the encounters at the border would be at this rate at this point in time. It was Kamala Harris and the Biden administration that convinced Mexico to send troops to the border before Donald Trump even thought about it. So that's why encounters have gone down, because they convinced the border czar, right? Although she wasn't the border czar, but she went over there because Joe Biden said, Kamala, I want you to go over here and talk to individuals of where these undocumented immigrants are coming from and see what we can do to slow that down. She went over there. She was able to strike a deal, got like 10,000 troops, I believe. It was sent to the border. So the encounters already started to go down. Look at the tracker, look at the boards. Any graph you're going to show, it was already going down through midway of last year. So it was only inevitable that no matter who the president was, it will probably be these numbers. Now, the deportation process is the problem. But no one's going to mention that because nobody does research. Maybe except for Harry. Harry probably won't even
he actually has 140 different ethnicities.
Well, you know what? He was quite strong about it, and he cited something I've said a lot. He quoted me, which is that actually the biggest deporter in modern presidential times was Barack Obama, who deported over 3 million people, way more than Trump has done. But the left didn't even know. When I asked my...
See, again, and here's another thing. Sorry to keep interrupting, whatever. Fuck, I don't care. Yeah, the difference about that is, and again, this is the entire problem. The entire fucking problem. I heard Stephen A. say it earlier. I keep hearing Pierce saying it over and over again. Obama, the deporter-in-chief, 100% you're true. He deported all... That's a fucking fact. But they got due process. They were not just ripped up off the street and punted out of the fucking country. I don't think anybody understands it's not the removal of undocumented immigrants or people who are here illegally. It's not the actual removal. It's the method of how it's being done. That's it. That's all. I don't understand why that is so difficult for people to understand. It's how you're doing it. It's not the fact that you're doing it fine. If I'm somewhere, if I'm in a place where I'm not supposed to be and somebody removes me, they have that right to remove me from that place. However, if there's a law in place that says you can't do this without due process, then I am expected these individuals to follow that law. A law I didn't create it. You created the law. The Trump administration should follow the fucking law. Period, point blank. Now, we already know Trump is not capable of doing so since he already tried to do it, since he already tried to incite an insurrection because he was shitty, he was salty about losing a fucking election in 2020. But whatever, right? We're just asking the Trump administration to prove what they're doing, and they can't do it. They don't want to do it because they know damn well if they do it, people are once again going to see through it. Garcia should be back by now. He should be. He's not an MS-13 member because they can't prove it. And running from MS-13 doesn't make you a member of MS-13. They just probably just want to whatever they want to do when they get their hands on you. That doesn't make you a gang member because you're running from a gang. There's a lot of people that I know are probably like running from gang members. But that doesn't make them a part of the gang. They're just scared shitless and don't want to be caught by the gang. Why do you think a lot of people are coming to the borders and trying to get into America? It's not just for work, but for a better life. They're trying to escape poverty, and they're also trying to escape gang violence. But no one on this panel, or some of them, wouldn't know that because they don't do the research, and for some reason, they don't bring these up. But whatever. Yeah. We're almost done here, folks.
Liberal friends.
Obama didn't gratuitously terrify people. And
Obama
I think that Trump has done that so unnecessarily.
Well, as always, it can be the way Trump goes about it more than what he's actually doing.
That's the point.
Harry,
that's
look, there's a lot of names being thrown around here. You represent the young wing of the Democrat Party. Who would you like to see become the next leader of your party?
I think there are so many talented people in the Democratic Party right now.
But who gets your juices flowing, honestly? I mean, who actually exercises you to think, yeah, that's the one. That's the Bill Clinton that can energize us. That's the Barack Obama. Because they're the two Democrat leaders in my adult life where I've really felt, wow, those two. And I thought they were both rock stars. I don't see a rock star out there. And in fact, the nearest thing I've seen to it is Stephen A. Smith. Genuinely.
The fucking glaze,
and
bro.
I think that a lot of people share your view. For me personally, I think folks like Pete Buttigieg, or as we've talked about today, Wes Moore, who is incredibly charismatic.
Pete Buttigieg has no chance. No chance.
You really think so?
No.
I think Pete Buttigieg is incredibly smart. I think he's really articulate. I think he portrays himself really well.
People are never going to vote for him to be president of the United States.
Why?
I don't see why not. I mean, he has served.
He doesn't have enough charisma.
Military.
charisma.
You've got to burst.
I think Pete Buttigieg
To win
Go ahead,
these
sorry.
days, you've got to be charismatic. You've got to have something about you which can carry people with you. I don't see that in Pete Buttigieg at all.
I mean, I think that his ability to go into
So with that being said, can we all just agree that the president of the United States, it's not about policy anymore. It's a popularity contest. Just say what people think. Just say what you think people want to actually see, and then you'll get it. If Trump said the same exact shit, but with somebody nobody fucking knew about, Kamala Harris would probably be the president of the United States, right? This is a popularity contest. Let's be fucking for real. That just proves it. No one actually gives a damn.
public in spaces like Fox News so consistently
Yeah.
and make the case with the Democratic Party is so impressive. There's not really many people in the Democratic Party doing that right now. I think that strategy in and of itself can kind of peel people who might be Biden, Trump voters or typically a little bit more
Well, Check's
conservative.
got
to
his
say, hey,
hand
this
up.
guy.
Totally unrealistic. Totally unrealistic, Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you heard the.
Why don't they just say what they want to say? They want to say they're not going to vote for him because he's gay. Go ahead, just say that.
The Saturday Night Live last week had something on Trump signing presidential executive orders banning biracial ads on TV. There are too many biracial ads with a black husband and a white wife and vice versa and so forth. Pete Buttigieg and his sexuality. Maybe for the woke class, we're way overdue to recognize that you can be gay.
What the?
Well,
I did
be
say
a wonderful, charismatic, inclusive leader. But that is, if you talk about elephants in the room, there's absolutely no way, despite the fact that Pete Buttigieg is a legitimate war hero with combat experience.
Geraldo, you don't think a gay person
It never happened.
You don't think a gay person could ever be president?
Wait, hold on.
I think that it is exactly the. Go ahead. But I think that it's just if you talk about woke, that's woke.
All right.
But like in 2000.
Wait, so having this is what I mean when I really want people to I really want somebody to explain to me what woke actually means. Everybody's going to have a different definition of what woke actually is. Being gay doesn't make you woke. Voting for somebody who's gay doesn't make you woke. Voting for somebody who's a woman doesn't make you woke. Voting for somebody who's black doesn't make you woke. So the people who put Pete Buttigieg in power or elected him to where he is now, are they woke, or did they actually listen to what he's saying? Like this is what I mean when I say people just need to actually start defining things like these. What the fuck does that mean? It's woke.
No. In 2008,
Like,
Obama.
No.
Imagine,
no,
like, you just imagine.
Go on,
In
Check.
2008,
No, this is all wrong.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So hold on, guys. Hold on. Look, you want to talk about people going to Republican, right-wing, independent spaces. I do that, right? And so when you, what I'm trying to get at is independence, because that's who you need to win elections, right? We need to get real here. So the problem with being woke isn't someone who's gay. Who cares if they're gay or straight, et cetera? That's not the issue at all. So you could say, hey, some of the DEI went too far, the transport stuff issues went too far, but that isn't about being gay or not being
Crazy.
gay. No, the problem with Buttigieg has nothing to do with that. The problem with Buttigieg is that he appeals to the elites. He's a super smart guy. So when he goes on TV and he talks about how he speaks 6 languages, all the elites are like, yes, Buttigieg, he's so Harvard educated, right? But that doesn't appeal to the average guy. It's not going to win over independents. That's his actual problem. By the way, Andrew Cuomo is also part of the establishment. Sean Hannity is also part of the establishment. What does the establishment always want? Serve the donors, serve the donors. That's the problem with Buttigieg. That's the problem with all those guys. What are we doing as economic populists? Look, I started Rebellion Pact. We're building a team. We're building a team. So you give me any one of those guys and our team is going to win because we've got all these different people in there. Khanna is so strategic and smart, and Ojeda's like a lead pipe. He's a populist. Then you got Nick Hanauer, who's a super smart guy. He's not part of Rebellion Pact or anything, but he's part of our allies, and he's got a middle-out strategy. That's an economic model where you give to the middle class. Stop giving to the rich.
Okay.
Give to the middle class,
look,
and the middle class then
can I
spends
just-
the money, and then it creates a healthier economy.
Okay,
It's both
let me bring in-
correct,
But
it's smart, and it's also electorally the right strategy.
All right, Cornell.
But let me agree with my brother Sheikah that I mean I'm blessed to have a show with Nina Turner on Tavis Smiley's magnificent 1580 talk show in LA. Brother Geraldo knows Brother Tavis. We both love Geraldo and Tavis, even though Geraldo and I fight on all kind of issues. But Brother Schick is right. And Nina Turner is one of the giants in the Democratic Party precisely because she has an affinity to Bernie Sanders, who's the best thing that the Democratic Party ever had. Even though he's never in it, he's certainly of it. But the reality is that the establishment of the Democratic Party would never in a million years put up with economic populism. It would never put up with Bernie. It would never put up with Nina Turner. That upsets me, but I recognize that is a reality. That's why I reached the conclusion, and this is why I ran, this is why Justice for All, the party that we're trying to generate, that the Democratic Party is beyond redemption. Republican Party is beyond redemption.
No.
We're living in a spiritually sick country with organized greed.
Can we just give David Hogg the keys to do what he wants to do and purge motherfuckers and purge the entire fucking Democratic Party? I'm tired of the fucking complaining. I honestly am tired of the fucking whining. Let's get all the old fucks out of the Democratic Party who's going to fucking keep trying to muzzle us so that we don't stoop to a fucking level of the fucking Republicans, because they can do whatever the fuck they want to do. Republicans can say whatever the fuck they want to do, and they get supported by their fucking constituents. They can kick babies. They can kick babies in the fucking face, and they'll still be okay. They can still run for office, and they can still win office because people are still going to support them. God forbid that a Democrat says, man, it's okay. I think it's okay that trans women are playing in women's sports, because you can't provide these statistics that this is actually a good thing. I will come up with a policy if you can show me the evidence and the proof that this is that thing. This is a humongous deal that is impacting women's sports. You haven't been able to show me this yet. All you've been able to show me is a couple of salty ass motherfuckers who just sucked at the game. Riley Gaines tied for 5th with a trans woman. Didn't even win. Lied about it. Like, made everybody believe that Leah Thomas came in and wrecked every biological woman in that fucking race. No, they tied for 5th. So what about the prior 4 women who also beat both of you? At the end of the day, you were just garbage. At that one time, you had a bad night. Saw that you lost. Saw that you tied. Didn't even lose. You tied with a trans woman and lost your fucking shit. There's absolutely no other instance of where you can find me that a trans woman has dominated a sport. You can't. It's not a problem. It's just transphobia. That's all this is. It's fear-mongering. Like, I'm tired of people just not saying that. Just telling, yo, you're fucking wrong. Riley Gaines, you just trash. You were trash that one time. You had a bad day. You had a bad night. You had a bad day. That's all it was. It has absolutely nothing to do with Leah Thomas being biologically a man in that instance. Why don't we just fucking come out and say that? Why are Democrats afraid to tell the fucking truth? Why aren't Democrats scared to look constituents in the face and tell you, yo, bring me some fucking proof that trans women are actually harming women's sports statistically, and then maybe we can work something out. We can talk about it. I can agree that maybe it needs to be approached differently. Maybe we need to have a different approach when we're talking about trans issues. But I'm not going to advocate against trans people, the trans community advocating in sports, until you can actually prove to me that it's an actual fucking problem, which no one has been able to do. It's only been highlighted by conservative media, these 1 or 2 instances that, if you actually look into the context, didn't even fucking matter. We're talking about the fencing individual. The trans woman who did the fencing when the weirdo fucking need got 24th out of 20, was it 24th out of 29 people? She placed 24th out of the whole damn tournament of women. This is stupid to me. It's a non-issue. It's a non-factor. This has been what the Republican Party has sat on. Not the genocide, but trans women playing in women's sports. Not the genocide. Not the fucking economy. We can see that nobody actually gave a fuck about that. Nobody had a fucking plan for the economy as we see it now. Nobody has a plan. Just wait until the first stock rolls out. Then you'll start to see the prices on. Once these industries start to run out the first stock, when they're trying to get shit back, Then you're gonna see the rise of your egg prices. Then you're gonna start to see the rise of fucking clothes and shit like that. This whole thing is just full of lies, and I'm tired of it. I just need the Democratic Party purged. I need certain streamers just fucking like put in their fucking place. Like I need somebody that's gonna tell the fucking truth, the uncomfortable truth. Like what happened to Lincoln Riley was fucking horrible. But I'm not going to sit there and be like, and use that and put that and allow that to be put in a platform and weaponized. Monsters did that to her. And I'm not going to allow you to be to be weaponized on national television to try to convince the American people that there are millions of people just like those monsters that did what they did to Lincoln Riley running around here. You're not going to prove that to me. Statistically, prove that every single immigrant, undocumented immigrant crossing the border here illegally are doing these crimes. Every single one of them. Because I guarantee you that for 1 or 2 people who are doing those crimes, I could get you 10 to 20 more Americans, full-blooded Americans that are actually doing these crimes and nobody gives a damn about. Nobody, we're talking about Lincoln Riley more than we're talking about the missing women in the indigenous community. We talk about Lincoln Riley more than we talk about the black women missing in the black community. We talk about Lincoln Riley more than we talk about children who are actually being trafficked in America by Americans. So while we can acknowledge tragedies that happen, we can also tell the truth with statistics. I don't understand why there's nobody in the Democratic Party who would talk about populism. Fuck that shit. I'd rather keep losing supporting a party that's going to fucking tell the fucking truth. Like, that's the uncomfortable truth that people need to fucking hear, bro. Because if we just keep going this route, it doesn't matter how much you pander, how much you want to go with economic populist, how much you just want to cater. People are going to fucking start dying out there. The hate crimes are just going to start going up. There are going to be people that are going to commit suicide. There are going to be people who are going to still try to cross the border, and sooner or later people are going to start shooting at them. There's no fucking solution anywhere. There's no solution in Gaza, right? There's no solution in the Ukraine-Russia war. There's no solution. The economy's going to crash, and we're told that, hey man, it's going to be bad. Just give it some time. It'll be good again. But for right now, if you're in the middle class, lower class, you're just going to have to fucking suffer for about 1.5 years. That's why I don't give a shit about people like Stephen A. Smith running or potentially running or even talking about politics. I don't give a shit about Chris Cuomo or Bill O'Reilly talking to the President of the United States. I don't give a fuck about Bill Maher going to dinner for like 3 or 4 hours and then coming out trying to tell us that Trump isn't as bad as he says that he shows that he is. I don't give a fuck about any of that. I care about what I fucking see. I care about the fucking administration just not following the law. I care about... That's what I care about. I care about having an administration, having a government that actually follows the fucking law and is actually fucking fair about it. That's what I care about. But this is what you expect. You should expect this when you have a criminal sitting in the office. This just gets tiring after a while. Kiss the ring. Kiss the fucking ring. Everybody else be damned. Everybody else be
weaponized
damned. Kiss the fucking ring.
And they're both part of a two-party system that is so corrupt. The donors control both parties. People know that 90 million Americans, the biggest bloc, decided not to vote at all. How come? Because they know the system is corrupt. They know it's legalized bribery and normalized corruption.
This is the last pause I'm going to do because this shit's almost over anyways. But like, I was going to point that out, that I agree that Cornel West actually says something very important that not a lot of people actually talk about. If I was to put in my hat, right? If I was to get the votes of the eligible voters, right, that chose not to vote in the election, I would be president of the United States right now. I would have won by a landslide. Understand that Donald Trump didn't. He technically won this election, but ignorance actually won this election. The ignorance thinking that you had a choice to vote, but you chose not to vote because you didn't like. You had a choice to vote. A lot of people, ignorance won that election. It wasn't a landslide victory by fucking Donald Trump. He didn't even get everybody to vote. Not everybody voted. That's the problem. More people didn't vote than the people that voted for Donald Trump. More people didn't vote than the people who voted for Kamala Harris. That's the facts. And if that is the case, nobody won by a landslide. A landslide would be having the majority of America vote for you. But if there's 90 million people or 80 or 90 million people that didn't vote at all, that's not what happened. So, good point.
Politicized larceny. That's what American politics is. And we have to come to terms with that. That's why the empire is declining. That's why the empire is decadent. That's why they're grabbing for a tyrant against the name Trump. Trump is able to mobilize that fear. Everybody knows he's beneath mediocre. Everybody knows he's corrupt. Everybody knows he's a liar. Everybody knows he's a gangster. That's who he is. God bless him.
He's also a graduate of he's also a graduate of the Wharton School. He's also someone who has taken a.
What do we mean by graduate?
Well, Geraldo, I want to play. This is teeing me up nicely for my final question for you. But Geraldo, I'll start with you because, like a bottle of Chateau Latour from Bordeaux in France, you get better with age. But Trump was talking to NBC and he said Biden was the worst thing to ever happen to old people. Let's take a look.
He talks about Biden every second, bro.
Biden is the worst thing that ever happened to old people.
That's all you need to play.
So is that right, Geraldo? Is he the worst thing to ever happen to old people?
I think that, just briefly giving a nod to Nina Turner, my Cleveland neighbor, I think that she is absolutely wonderful. And Ro Khanna, one of the best congressmen there is. AOC, I just want to mention her. I think that Joe Biden's frailty, and the fact I mentioned earlier that he's only 8 months older than I am, did give the impression, I think, to many people who are watching this program probably, that there is a chronological, do not run point. And maybe there should be age limitations.
It should
but there's
be.
also,
60.
let me speak up for
60.
zesty senior
60.
citizens.
Yes.
You should not.
I have a very robust
personally,
life.
you should not be able to run when you're 60 years old. I'm sorry. When you reach the age of 60, you should not be running for president.
Tiring. He's 94. Rupert Murdoch, who's been my boss on and off for 30 odd years, he's 94, I think. Dame Joan Collins, who I regularly have dinner with, is 92, I think, and looks like she's 50. I don't think it's about age, Cornell. You're another example of a fine wine growing.
Have you heard Arthur Rubinstein play Brahms' Piano Concerto number 1 at 87 years old?
Yes.
He put to shame 27-year-old pianists.
And you're showing exactly the same. And Cornell, you're showing.
Cornell, he's looking like he's 55. I don't know what he's
55 is crazy. All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm done with these guys. Yeah. Moral of this fucking unfortunate story is, once again, educate yourselves. If you are going to vote for individuals, look at the policies. Please read policies. Please look for them when they debate. If you're not going to look at the policies, please watch them. Watch the debates. When it comes to midterms are coming, watch the debates, right? At least in your locals, they're doing it. You might have to find it on YouTube, but you just watch the debates, know what you're voting for. If you're thinking of not voting because you're tired of the government, understand it. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. And yeah, unfortunately, the only thing I can convince you of is to choose the lesser of two evils. If you protested the vote because of Palestine, because of Gaza and Israel, Palestine and Israel, you fucked yourself. Because there was only one candidate that wasn't going to rip people who were protesting at campuses off the streets for protesting for Palestine, nor would there was going to be only one person in the race that wasn't going to penalize institutions for allowing people to protest and practice their First Amendment right. There was only one individual who was not going to rip motherfuckers from out their streets, from out their homes, from out their jobs, to kick them out of America without due process and claim that they're criminals. There's only one individuals. There was only one of the candidates that weren't going to just allow Garcia to sit in a fucking cage, right? There was one candidate that wasn't just going to cater to Putin, shit on Zelensky, cater to Putin. And Putin spread misinformation. There was only one candidate that wasn't going to do that. There was only one candidate that wasn't going to be a detriment. Even if you didn't like the way the economy was going, there was only one person that wasn't going to fuck it up even more. So, I mean, like, I honestly believe if anybody who's going to listen to it is the 1 to 2 person. I can talk to one person if that's whoever comes across this. Just fucking understand that. Get your ass out there. Go vote. Listen, like, go do some research on the people you're voting for. It's getting crazy. It's getting crazy out there, and it's not getting any better anytime soon. Yeah, well, that's all I gotta say. You know, take that with a grain of salt. Take it how you want it. Take it how you will. But yeah, all right. Well, I'm out of here. Follow me, please. Follow me. I'm tired of speaking to myself. Just follow me so I can actually see people talk, and then I can have a conversation and I can yell at you. I'm tired of yelling at the fucking computer screen because they're not going to hear me. I'd rather yell at somebody that's going to respond back. But anyway, follow me if you come across this live, or don't. I mean, I do care, but I really don't care. So anyways, I'm out. I'll check you guys tomorrow. Same warrior time, same warrior channel. And